Good evening, everyone. Before we start the class, let us chant Namo Tassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. All right. So we are continuing with the Angulimala Sutra today. We have completed the reading on the sutra in its entirety, but we hope to now use the sutra today, or what we have already read within the sutra last week, to facilitate going deeper through the Paticcasamuppada in today's class. Okay? Right. So, a few things that we need to realize in terms of Venerable Angulimala. At the time that Venerable Angulimala came to be in the vicinity of the Buddha, this was a crucial time in his life as a murderer, because upon his career as a murderer, I'm calling it a career as a murderer, because he was so engulfed with this idea of which gave him the name Angulimala, to form this necklace that he did. And the necklace was the necklace, through his killing spree, was coming to an end, which was he only needed one more finger. From 999, he only needed one more finger. His contemplations were his own mother, right? He was prepared to kill his own mother to complete this necklace. However, in coming to meet or be in the vicinity of this harmless monk, it is said in the commentaries that it would be easier to have then murdered this harmless monk than actually murdering his own mother. Because the monk was this harmless monk, was standing right before him. Little did he know this was not just a harmless monk, this was the Buddha himself. The teachings that the Buddha presented to Angulimala at that time were based upon the present moment. The Buddha brought or created a question through his or whatever the Buddha had to say, created this question in bringing Angulimala's focus to this present, which ignited within Angulimala, being within the presence of the Buddha, whatever which had to be ignited for him to now reach a state of realization, right? A state of realization. Now, within this state of realization, which was triggered by now the Buddha's questioning, which led him to question the present moment. I have stopped. I stopped a long time ago. It is you who has not stopped, right? Which led Angulimala to then contemplate on actually what is real. And that contemplation of reality at the time, if we remember what we read in the sutra last week, was the fact that he was running, and he was apparently a very fast runner. He was running, and the Buddha appeared to be still, not running or anything of the sort, but Angulimala was still not catching up to the Buddha, right? What was that? That was the way that Angulimala, in him questioning, he's saying, I'm running, but why is it that I'm not catching up to him? Right? I can, normally it's said that I could even outrun a fast animal. But why is it that I'm not catching up to this monk? Created a sense of a question, a state of confusion, right? And that use of the Buddha's Iridibala to do that itself supported Angulimala's journey towards enlightenment or realization of enlightenment. When we look at the practice and the different components that we go on in the practice, as we come into the Satipatthana, we find the Satipatthana Sutra offers a direct and a methodical pathway leading to enlightenment. It starts, of course, with a person who has interest, who is in one way or the other moved by the Dhamma. He starts upon his journey of contemplation, right? He starts upon his journey of contemplation. Now, are we ready with a pen and paper? Yeah, good. Have your pen and papers with you, please, right? Oh, would you mind if I just quickly run down and get myself some water and come? Is that fine? Yeah, sorry. All right, everyone. So when we look at the Satipatthana Sutra, we find a path. Dil, your hand is raised. Do you have a question? Ah, okay. Right. So when we look at the Satipatthana offers a direct pathway and methodical pathway leading towards nirvana. We, of course, know that in the Satipatthana, we have the 4 Satipatthanas. But it doesn't just, the Mahasatipatthana Sutra doesn't just tell us, okay, these are the Satipatthanas, practice this, right? It goes deeper in saying and becomes far more helpful in saying, this is the way you go, right? This is the way you go, which becomes the primary focus of the famed meditation practice of Mahasi Sayadaw, because he goes directly into the Satipatthana. That is what makes it different from PAOK meditation technique. The PAOK meditation technique goes into the samatha, the 40 samatha kammatthanas before going into vipassana, right? 40 samatha kammatthanas before going into vipassana. Now, where do we start? 1, Kayanupassana. Please write that. I'm going to give you more, right? Right? Kayanupassana. So under Kayanupassana, where do we start with? The dead body, right? The corpse meditations. Then the elements. Then the 32 parts of the body? 32 parts of the body, right? Then the Sampajanya meditations, that is the activities, right? In the activities that we are doing, right? Then comes postures, Iriyapata Bhavana. Then breathing. Right? Then breathing. Now, then comes what? Then comes Vedananupassana. Now, leave some space. No need to leave space. After that, write Vedananupassana. And Vedananupassana is pleasant, unpleasant, neither pleasant nor unpleasant, neutral. However, pleasant, unpleasant, neither pleasant nor unpleasant, within brackets, applying to all three of them, worldly and unworldly. Right? Those within the Laukika path and the Lokottara path. That is where we tackle the Upakleshas, everyone, and not get caught. Right? Then we have Chittanupassana. In Chittanupassana, we start with, right, Vitaragam Chitta. Vitaragam Chitta, which is the consciousness without lust. Vita dosa Chitta, the consciousness without hatred or dosa. Vita dosa. So those of you who want to write in Pali, you can, or English, whatever you like, right? Vita moha Chitta, the consciousness without delusion. Then we have the uncontracted consciousness, right? Contracted. Asankita Chitta. And then Asankita Chitta. Then we have the undistracted Chitta. The consciousness that is focused and that which is not focused, right? That is the two. Then we have Mahagata Chitta, which is Mahagata, great consciousness. Then surpassable consciousness, that is Sauttara Chitta. New words, yeah? I'll put it on the... Samahita Chitta, which is a concentrated mind. So great, surpassable, concentrated. And then Vimukha Chitta, which is liberated, right? So Mahagata Chitta, Sauttara Chitta, Samahita Chitta, Vimukha Chitta. Vimuktam Chitta, Vimuktam. Yes, Samantha.
Oh, sorry, Bante. I think I got lost with all the chittas. Is it possible? Will I be asking too much if you were to write it in the chat from the what the chittas were the in English the
Yes.
raga whatever in English?
So we have two sides, right? Two sides. Okay, Samantha, I will do. Right?
Thank you. Yeah.
Right? On two sides. So the Chittanupassana, on one side is a Chitta. Yeah, Samantha, please write it in English, right? Without lust, without anger, without delusion, contracted, undistracted, great, surpassable, concentrated, liberated. Right? Liberated. Now, those are without these things, right? On the other side, we have the negative and the positive, or rather, like the two sides of the coin that we must observe. Then we have under the Chittanupassana, right? Next to, please write this next to the, so you've written without lust, so write it next to that list, right? Next to that list, right? With lust. So without lust, with anger, with delusion. So uncontracted, contracted, undistracted, distracted, great, narrow, surpassable, unsurpassable, concentrated, unconcentrated, liberated, unliberated. Is that clear? Right? So in Chittanupassana, then the consciousnesses that we observe is not in the reality of what we are seeing. Now, let us say I'm closing my eyes and I'm picturing, let us say, an event that happened. The thing is, that's not what we are observing. We are going deeper, right? We are breaking beyond that story, that worldly reality that we once contemplated with delusion, and we are going to the quality of this, with lust, without lust, with hatred, without hatred. Do you understand? Right? Now, then we have, what do we do after Chittanupassana? After, now we have done Kayanupassana, Vedananupassana, Chittanupassana. Then we do the 5 hindrances. So please write the 5 hindrances, everyone. Right? 5 hindrances. 5 hindrances: Kamachanda, Vyapada, so sensual desire, aversion, sloth and torpor, Uddacha Kukkucha, restlessness and worry, and doubt. Right? Write those 5. Restlessness and worry and doubt.
Bhante, you're going too fast.
So you know the hindrances now?
Yes, yes. Okay.
Write those 5.
Sorry, Bhante, can you repeat those a bit slowly again, please?
Sure. Sensual desire, aversion, sloth and torpor, restlessness and worry, doubts. 5. Right? Now, when there is a clinging, now let us say, when a consciousness arises, or when a thought arises, a distraction arises, towards this consciousness that has now arisen, distracting us from whatever the object of meditation was, let us say we think about an ice cream, right? Or let us say we think about dinner or lunch or whatever it is. Or we start contemplating on, what am I going to cook today? What am I feeling like? Right? Now that we on a surface level, we see what we, in terms of the reality that we see that, isn't it? We go beyond that surface level and see, Kama Chanda. Kama Chanda has arisen. And you feel the Kama Chanda there. Do you understand? Right? You feel the Kama Chanda, the rising and the passing of that Kama Chanda. If it is an object of aversion that arose, right? Let us say a friend of yours who betrayed you, right? Or a person who was close to you, who is now angering you. We don't see that person, right? Or the instance or the scenario. We see the aversion. Do you understand? We see the aversion there. Then we go on to, now have you written all of that down? Right? Next we have the 5 skandhas, the 5 aggregates: material form, feeling, perception, volition or mental factors, right? And consciousness. And consciousness. Right? When we attune to these levels, and as we attune to these levels, everyone, right? Now, for example, let us say the first one that we wrote was the dead body, wasn't it? Right? Now, when we attune to that, if we attune to it, at that moment itself, අපේ සංසාරේ කෙටි වෙනවා. At that moment itself, our potential of existing in samsara shrinks, just as we attune to it. Right? Then we go on to the elements, shrinks even more. Then the 32 parts of the body shrinks even more. Do you understand? Right? So believe it or not, if you are putting yourself in the practice and attuning yourself to those elements of the practice, you're literally shrinking it. However, the moment, this is when you're in the practice. When are you not in the practice? When you go against the practice, or rather, okay, hold on, right? When you go against what, which is doing something or allowing the nivaranas to come forth. Now what happens? The shrinkage, it expands again. Do you understand? Right? That shrinkage expands again. Yes, Damsiri. You're muted.
When you say elements, you are talking about 4 basic elements.
Yes.
Or not the 18 elements. Or you start with 4 elements and then you go into...
No, you start with the 4 elements.
All elements.
Right? Four elements. And then you can go deeper into the elements later on.
Okay. All right. Okay. Right? Yeah.
Okay. Now, because yes, Dave, yes.
Just a very quick thing. When you say yes, when you're doing something with the intention of Nibbana, would you say that when you do something, even one step before, when you do something without awareness, unmindfully, so you have to become mindful to know that this is due to the Nibbana. That's just the way I do it. You have to be mindful, isn't it? To see that otherwise, if you just do it habit, the Nibbana will just come back.
The thing
Never
is,
mind.
the mindfulness approach, now this is exactly what they try to do with secular mindfulness as well. They try to take the mindfulness-based approach, right?
Yeah.
However, where the Dhamma becomes far more powerful and potent is where we have a sort of something that holds us, or rather a focus. Now this Satipatthana is focused. What is it focused upon? Nibbana. The Satipatthana is practiced by one who wants to attain Nibbana. Because now let us say our mind is narrow. When the mind is narrow, whatever element that arises within it is huge in proportion. When the mind is far more wide, open to the potential of everything that could possibly happen or is going to happen, even the fact of, let us say, we think about only this life, then I would cling to everything that I possibly have. Right? However, if we are thinking about 100,000 lifetimes, then what is this? Do you get what I mean? So this sense of focus is very powerful in the Satipatthana. Everything that we do, that is where letting go of something which in our narrow lives, with a narrow outlook, might seem big, but in the bigger picture, it is something which is absolutely insignificant. Do you understand?
Yeah, thank you, Bhante.
Okay.
Very clear.
Now, We wrote the 5 hindrances, right? What was the last one which we wrote?
The 5 aggregates.
5 aggregates. Okay. So after the 5 aggregates, what do we have? We have the 6 ayatanas. Chakku, sota, eye, and form. Eye and form. Right? Ear and sound. And before one of you asks, we are going to connect this to Paticcasamuppada beautifully. Right? Eye and form. Ear and sound. Nose and smell. Tongue and taste. Body and touch. Mind and mind objects. Mind and mind objects. Is that clear, everyone? Mind and mind object. The 6 ayatanas. Right? The 6 ayatanas. Right. After the 6 ayatanas, are you done writing? Yes. After the 6 ayatanas, now comes the bojjhangas. The 7 bojjhangas, the factors of awakening. Right? Now, even if you just take a step back and just look at your list, what do you see? We started where? We started with the gross, heavy stuff. What was the heavy stuff that could easily decay and die? That was what we started with. The dead body, the movements. That was what the gross, the breath. When we realized that, we transcended the Vedana. Pleasure, displeasure, and neutral. Worldly and unworldly. Right? When we transcended that, now we've transcended the body. Right? Transcended through vipassana. Right? Through vipassana. Now we've gone to chittanupassana. Right? Seeing the different minds for what they are in reality, in nature, through which they exist and arise. Then we went into a finer definition. A finer definition. Did you hear that by any chance? You didn't hear anything other than my voice. Did you hear the silence? No, you didn't. Okay, good. Then we go on to the aggregates. Sorry, we go on to the hindrances. The hindrances is the gross attachment that we have towards what? Towards what we have just contemplated and done, isn't it? That's the gross attachment, no? The way that we work with. So realizing, this is a hindrance. This is what the hindrance feels like. Do you understand? Right? This is where I'm working with. My bridge between the consciousness and the object is through a hindrance. This we begin to understand. The arising and the passing of the hindrance. Do you understand? Right? Then we go on to what? The aggregates. The aggregates which form the foundation of existence for us. Rupa, Vedana, Sanya, Sankhara, Vijnana. Correct? We go into the aggregates, which is Nama Rupa. Nama Rupa. Right? From the aggregates, we go on to now. Those aggregates are proliferated through sense consciousness. What is sense consciousness? What arises as sense consciousness? The 6 ayatanas. Is that clear, everyone? Right? The 6 ayatanas. Chakku, Sota, Gana, Jibha, Kaya, Mano, and their counterpart objects. Right? Because this is how we become aware. Why is this? Because this is how we become aware about Chakku Vijnana, is through the fact that we have just cognized form. Do you understand? However, then what do? We separate form and the Vijnana. To realize that this object, the perceivable of this object was done through the consciousness. However, The perceival isn't reality itself. Do you understand? That also rises and passes. The form arises and passes, the vinyana arises and passes. Do you understand? Is that clear, everyone? Make up a After the ayatanas, the bojjhangas. Sati, mindfulness, Dhamma investigation, Dhamma vichaya, Virya, energy, Piti, joy, Passaddhi, tranquility, Samadhi, concentration, and Upekkha, equanimity. Right. Now, Dil, your initial question that you asked, the sati, in the sati sambojjhanga here, you can see that it is supported by so much of prajna behind it. Do you understand? That is what makes, so the sati that arises in the sati sambojjhanga is different. Why? Because sati sambojjhanga arises as a factor of awakening, right? Before the sati, without, because sati can arise towards anything. Mindful, you can be mindful about anything, right? But now we have a force behind it, right? So we've molded, we've carved, we've trained, we've yoked the mind into a specific path founded within the Dhamma, reality and realization, vipassana, right? So then the sambojjhangas, after the sambojjhangas, what happens, right? After the sambojjhangas, now we come into Dhammanupassana. Dhammanupassana. What is Dhammanupassana? The Four Noble Truths. Suffering or misery, the cause of suffering, the cessation of suffering, and the way or path leading to the cessation of suffering. Suffering, cause of suffering, cessation of suffering, and the path leading to the cessation of suffering. Right? Path leading to the cessation of suffering. Now, I want you to just mark Nivarana, Skandha, Ayatana, Bojjhanga, hindrances, aggregates, sense, ayatana, sense,
Yes. Sense base.
sense bases. Sense bases, factors of awakening, and the Four Noble Truths all fall under Dhammanupassana. Is that clear? All fall under Dhammanupassana. Right? Those are branches. So to get to the Dhammanupassana, because Dhammanupassana is where the real hardcore work happens. Right? Because that is where, but requires a great amount of subtlety. Requires a great amount of subtlety, because when we look at cause, when the mind is taken aback or engulfed by laukika sankhara formations and regards potency within laukika sankhara as atma or through self, we cannot see the finer inner workings of cause and effect of nama rupa. Why? We are still stuck on the story. That is why we build up through Kayanupassana up until, of course, Chittanupassana. And then now we directly see the correlation between the mind and the body and go on to the inner workings of the mind with these hindrances that arise. Now truly stepping into the work of the inner workings of Paticcasamuppada. Isn't it, everyone? Now, avidya, if we take avidya and tanha, to see avidya and tanha, we are seeing it through the face value of it. Right? The face value of it. But the thing is now, for example, if we are regarding avidya or let us say tanha, with regards or with a story of, oh, this is like me being attached to cheese, let us say. That's very weak. Why is that very weak? It might be true. We are not calling that, we are not saying that it's not true. It is true. However, it is very gross, right? This cheese might be only something within this birth, right? But what about the whole core of existence? What fuels and facilitates Jivitindriya and life itself? The tanha attribute deep within the consciousness which makes it go. That's not about cheese, no. That is something far inert to go. So we must go beyond that cheese. We must go beyond that story of this life to see that. That is what we do through the Satipatthana. Is that clear, everyone? Right? So that all falls. Yes, Samantha.
Yeah, Bhante. So my confusion is, so you got that avidya, sankhara, paccaya, then vijnana. So the vijnana leads to the nama rupa, right? Now, nama, the rupa obviously is the 4 elements, and nama is the mind again. So it seems to be like the bamboo simile. You've got the consciousness on one side, and then you've got nama rupa on the other side. And one does not, I've heard that one doesn't exist without the other, but I don't really understand what that actually means. So if one goes, the consciousness goes, the other, like the two bamboo, I think comes in there, the bamboos leaning on each other, I think. But I don't really know what that exactly means. So why is it that there's consciousness and then repeated in the nama rupa, there's also another consciousness in the nama?
Okay. What
Or is that a different, nama, attention, yeah.
Okay, so if you are being more specific, are you asking with regards to why is there Chittanupassana, right? We are looking at Chittanupassana, and then we are also looking at, let us say, at the 5 aggregate level, we are looking at Nama and Rupa there, the segregations of Nama, which is Rupa Vedana, Sanya, Sankhara, Vijnana. The first one is materiality, and the rest are consciousness.
Nama.
Right? Is that what you mean, Samantha?
Yes, and also some people term that nama rupa as passa, vedana, attention, manasikara or something, and then something like, and then not vijnana and sankhara, different terms they use.
Okay.
They don't say paccaya vedana sanya sankhara, not paccaya, the vedana sanya sankhara vijnana. They say that nama is vedana sanya manasikara. That word manasikara comes, and then as opposed to sankhara, attention, and then there's a passa in there as well, and then I think it's vijnana or mental form is sankhara afterwards.
Okay, I'm not quite sure where that list is from, right? But all are derivatives of different types of phases of consciousness, right? However, if we come back to the first sense of it, in the Chittanupassana, Samantha, if you look at what you've written down, we are looking at with lust, without lust. Do you understand?
Yes.
So if you're thinking about the cheese again, with lust, without lust. right? We are
Mhm.
looking at the grossness of consciousness, right?
Mm.
The grossness of it. In
Yeah.
the skandhas, in the aggregates, what are we going into? We are going into the way the mind and body fuels these experiences deeper and breaking it into rupa, physical formations, materiality, sensation.
Mm.
Do you get it? Do you get what I mean? So we are,
Yes.
we are going deeper into it, right?
Mm.
We are going deeper into seeing those inner workings. Because now, for example, how can lust exist when we do not see a self in form? Do you understand? Again, let me speak of this as an example. Metana, here, there is no person.
Mm.
I have no belief that there is a person here. Because there is, I'm talking about myself. I'm
Mm.
talking about myself. I have no belief that there is a person here. Hence, I am not working to pacify and pleasure this person.
Mhm.
If so, to what do I lust? To what do I hate? To what do I choose to be deluded? To give what comfort do I choose greed, hatred, delusion? Do you understand?
Mm. Mm.
Yeah?
Yeah.
It's because I see a self here,
Mm.
right? I know that sugar is not going to do me any good, but I am so caught up, or I'm so clung on to, I attach myself to
Mm.
now looking forward to that experience of the sugariness, the
Craving.
sweetness,
Yes.
that I would give myself that pleasure. But if there is no person to pleasure here with
Yeah.
sugar, what am I trying? Would I have a reason to pleasure it?
I
No.
see what you're saying. Yes.
That's what I
Not
mean.
craving. Yes. It
There
has
is no,
formed.
there is no person here to, so it is that person. If you look at the first thing that we wrote, that
Mm.
person is now being broken.
Yes. Yes.
Self is being broken.
Mm.
And for example, the consciousness that we saw at Chittanupassana level is not the same. It is not the same intensity in comparison, or its fine, subtle nature in Dhammanupassana is beyond that Chittanupassana comparison.
Mm. Yes. Yes. I see.
Understand?
I'll have to I'll contemplate that a bit more. Yeah.
Contemplate on it. Now, for example, Samantha, we go to the shops and we buy, let us say, a plant-based milk,
Mm-hmm.
or even normal milk,
Mm.
right? Now, on the packages, it says, oh, protein, high protein, this and that, vitamin C, calcium, all of these things, right? Right. But we don't look at it. We don't look at. So let us say a plant-based milk, right? It's plant-based milk, it's oat milk, it's almond milk, whatever it is, right? And we just bring it in. But when we turn it around, if someone is a little bit more knowledgeable, you would turn the milk carton around and then you will look at the ingredients. When you look at the ingredients, you find cartons with water, salt, and the plant, whether it's almonds or whatnot, which is the only thing that should be there in the carton of milk, if it's good, pure, good stuff. If it's not the good stuff, you would often find the chemicals and the preservatives and all of these, a barrage of ingredients that need not be there. But you only realize the purity or the quality of the product when you turn the carton around and look at the ingredients. Do you get what I mean? But at first, maybe we just picked it out from the carton that looks best, But now we turn it around because we know a bit better. That is somewhat like Chittanupassana and then the Chitta in Dhammanupassana. Now we are not fooled by lust because we know that that lust arises and passes. But now we are going on to the inner workings of consciousness which brought about that lust. Do you understand? Right? Now that is the Vipassana path. Vipassana path all the way down that. Beyond that, right? Beyond that, we have, so please write, Rupa Jhanas. Jhana with form. Right? First to the fourth. So one, first jhana, second jhana, third jhana, fourth jhana, fifth jhana. Right? So in the sutra technique, it would be 4, Abhidhamma 5. Right? And then we have the Arupa jhanas, which is beyond that. Right? Which is the first, second, third, and the fourth Arupa jhanas. And beyond that, if we consider the mind or the position of the mind, it's Nirodha Samapatti. So beyond Rupa, Arupa Jhana is Nirodha Samapatti. That's the highest form of Phala Samapatti that you can experience as a being. During this Nirodha Samapatti, please write a little note. Cessation of perception and feelings. So when the cessation of perception and feelings happen, what happens, everyone? Nivan vitarak neme, then consciousness is in a process of cessation. Do you understand? Isn't it? Because remember, if Vedana does not arise, consciousness does not arise. If Vedana does not arise, perception does not arise. Is that clear? So Nirodha Samapatti would be Nibbana. Right? Nirodha Samapatti is a Phala Samapatti. It is Nibbana. Do you understand? This, according to Satipatthana, is our path of practice. Okay? Clear? Any questions? Next, we are going to move into Patisampada. So, any questions? Yes.
Bhante, so what you said was the path of the Satipatthana is Rupa Jhana, Arupa Jhana, and Nirodha Samapatti.
Rupa Jhana.
So this is the Arupa Jhana, Nirodha Samapatti. In a summary form.
Yeah. Rupa Jhana, Arupa Jhana, Phala Samapatti. Now, because remember,
Phala Samapatti or Nirodha Samapatti.
Nirodha Samapatti.
Phala only.
Nirodha Samapatti. Nirodha Samapatti. This is on the base of experience. So Arahants go into Nirodha. Right? Now, remember, why Rupa Jhana and Arupa Jhana? Because some might get confused because, right, why Rupa and Arupa Jhana is there and on top also, right? Rupa and Arupa Jhana is there on top. Why? Because remember, 89, 121. Right? In the 100, yes, Chittas.
Yeah.
89, 121 Chittas, the 121, that differentiation comes into when we attain Nibbana through the first, the second, the third, the fourth, the fifth jhana. The fifth jhana includes Arupa. Right? Through those. Because the fifth jhana, it is said that the fifth jhana in Rupa, because it is only Upekha and Ekagata, that it is, the qualities are similar and can also be known as an Arupa jhana because the qualities, the jhanangas are the same. Is that clear? Right? That is why So do not be confused that Rupa and Arupa is far more greater than Dhammanupassana. It's not to say so. But the thing is, through the level of experience where we go into the higher state of consciousness that we go into Nibbana through. So as a consciousness, Rupa is far beyond a Kama Vachara consciousness. Arupa is beyond a Rupa Vachara consciousness. And Nirodha Samapatti, where it happens, the cessation of perception and sensations, right, feelings, when that happens, what does that mean? That is a state of consciousness. I mean, it is absolute nothingness in terms of consciousness.
Yeah.
Right? A state of absolute nothingness. It's a cessation of feelings and perception, which is, in other words, the cessation of consciousness within this very life.
Yeah.
Do you understand? Is that clear? Are we ready for the big stuff? Yes, yes, dear. We can't hear you. You're muted.
But I have difficulty because my signal got cancelled. I heard the last bit, you explaining to Veera, but before that, Bante, I don't want to describe the whole thing because others would have heard. After you explained about this concept about the Rupa Jhana and the Arupa Jhana, were you saying something about Arahant will go only through one? Can you just tell me what you explained last? I don't know how much I couldn't hear, Bante. So at the beginning, you were saying that you brought in Nirodha Samapatti, right, as the highest state that you can go. But you were speaking of Rupa Jhana and Arupa Jhana.
Yes,
and what you were saying is though Nirodha Samapatti is the highest you can be, and that's where the Arhansa, where the state of consciousness is nothing. But that if you like us mundane fellows who go in, if you go with a Kama whatever chitta, that is a much lower level to go. But go into some of the things of Rupa Jhana and
let me clarify that deal. So what I mentioned was the rankings that you have in your paper now, right, from top to bottom.
Yes.
It should be bottom to top, right? Right.
Right. Yes. Yes.
So top to bottom that you've written is actually bottom to top,
Yeah.
right? That's
Yes. Yes.
So why we have the Arupa and the Rupa and the Arupa right on top, one should not confuse themselves with that Arupa and Rupa are far beyond, let us say, the Vipassana. It is not. It is to say how we approach the Vipassana. So this deal within the first chapter of Abhidhamma, we noted that there are 121 types of consciousnesses when it comes to attaining the path and fruit through the jhanas, right? So this is what the chart in the Satipatthana we have now spoken of. Is that clear?
Yeah. Yes, Bhante.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
So an Arahant will reach it. Can reach it from Rupa and Arupa and then go to the Nirodha Samapatti, or does it depend on where the Arahant comes from? Is it? So if he had been practicing Samatha and then going, then he would go into Rupa, Arupa, and then to Nirodha Samapatti. Is that what you're saying? What's the difference between us and between an Arahant, right? In an Arahant, he'll go to the Nirodha Samapatti, but he can go through the jhanas even, isn't it? If you have been practicing both.
Yes. So some would. The thing is, now when we look at Margapala in the Chittas, right? Because of Vipassana Samadhi and because of the Vipassana Samadhi going into such a deep state, right? By the time that we come into Sankharupekka, right? Sankharupekka, it is said that the Arahant, depending on the intensity of the Vipassana Samadhi, will automatically enter into one of the jhanas corresponding with the power of the Vipassana Samadhi.
Okay.
Right. So, because now, for example, as Vipassana practitioners, we know we experience a sense of samadhi when we meditate, even anapana or whatever other vipassana, we experience a sense of samadhi. So the parallel samadhi arises as a jhana before the para experience. Is that clear?
Okay, thank
Right.
you. And the other question I got before that, when you were talking about the various chittas, some of them I didn't get the before. So we know raga and vita dosa and dosa, and that is simple, the moha and the vita. Then the uncontracted and contracted is sankata and asankata. So that's also clear. The distracted and undistracted, what is the Pali word?
The distracted and undistracted would be in Pali, distracted and undistracted. Does anyone remember
I
the Pali
don't think you mentioned.
of the distracted and undistracted? May distracted, avik, avishit. Hold on, let me type it. Vikshita, avishikta.
Thank you, Bhante. Because we didn't mention it. So
Vikshita, avishikta. Yes, Vikshita, avishikta.
Yeah. Thank you. And Mahagata and what's the opposite?
Mahagata and
the great
Amagata. Amahagata.
Amagata.
Amahagata.
Amahagata. Right. Then you mentioned Amahagata. Right. Then the Sautarama is that surpassing or unsurpassing? I was not sure. What is
surpassing? Sautarang is surpassing.
Then unsurpassing is
Anuttara.
Anuttara. Right.
Anuttara.
Anuttara. Then the concentrated is a samahita and the unconcentrated is asamahita.
Yes.
Right. And then we say asamahita. Then we said vimuktang is liberated and unliberated is
Avimukta.
avimukta. Thank you, Bhante. I'm sorry. Yeah.
Right.
Thank you, Bhante. That's complete now. Thank you, Bhante.
Thank you. Now we go on to, now we must see only 30 minutes more. Okay, we'll start anyways. Now, let me just connect my iPad. Can you see my screen, everyone? Not yet.
Yet, Bhante. It's still loading.
Okay, here we go.
Yeah. Yes.
Now, when we are relating to the Parijjasamuppada, right? Now, this is an important part, right? We haven't done this before, so pay attention, please, and ask questions. Sorry. When we are relating to the Parijjasamuppada, first let us say, okay, so let us start with Avijja Pachya Sankhara, right? Avijja Pachya Sankhara.
Sorry, Bhante, we can't see. Oh, it's
There.
black, and
Yes.
your power might be low as well. I don't know.
Oh, yes, it is low.
Are you using a black screen?
Do you not prefer a black screen?
It
You
would
prefer
depend
a
on
white?
contrast.
Okay, then I will change over to white. Hurry.
Yeah.
Now, avijja. Can you see now?
No, we cannot see what you're writing, Bante. It is, to me,
No,
it's
no,
still
no.
black. Now, yes.
I think it's better. It's
Right.
white in black screen.
Yes, okay. Avijja.
Letters are white in.
Right. Avijja, sankhara. Right, I'm not going to write the whole thing. Avijja pacchaya sankhara, sankhara pacchaya vinyana, vinyana pacchaya namarupa, right? Mind and matter. Mind and matter, six senses. Six senses into contact feeling. Contact into craving. Craving into clinging. Clinging into bhava, becoming. Becoming into jati or birth. Birth into jara marana. Age, jara is aging. Death. Oh my gosh. Death. And then ignorance. Okay? Ignorance. Ignorance. Okay, I've tried my best. Okay. Right. Now, which is basically the cycle of Paticcasamuppada on the round. Okay. Now, oh, the space is not enough. Okay. Okay. So now from Sankhara, now pay attention, everyone. This Sankhara on the side, you can see that, right? From the Sankhara, from this part here, right? Up until six senses, right? We are going to break it. From the six sense, from passa, from contact, up until up until clinging, we are going to break that as well, right? Which is the usual traditional break that we see, right? Isn't it? Past, present, causal, yes. Now, sankhara pacchaya vinyanang, vinyana pacchaya namarupa, namarupa pacchaya salayatanang. What do we see? Now, what is here, everyone? We see, when we see formations, consciousness, mind and matter, six senses, these four are integrally the four that goes into culminating our experience of dukkha, samudaya, dukkha nirodha, dukkha nirodha gamini patipada. Do you understand? So here, these four goes into what we use to understand the Four Noble Truths. Is that clear? The Four Noble Truths. Because that is our realm of experience. Right? Springing from, mind you, springing from becoming, birth, aging, ignorance, avijja. Okay? Ignorance. Oh, avijja is ignorance. And ignorance, avijja. Okay?
Ante, did you put Vedana in there?
Yes, feeling. It was here somewhere. Oh, I missed Vedana. Okay. Let me put Vedana in here, right? Vedana. Here. Feeling. Okay. Now, what happens with this other part, which is Phassa, Vedana, Tanha, Upadana? What happens with that part? It is to that we apply Sati, the Bojjhangas. Sati, Dhamma Vichaya, Virya, Piti, Passaddi, Samadhi, Upekka. Do you understand? Right? The 7 Bojjhangas. Bojjhangas. Sati, Dhamma Vichaya, Virya, Piti, Passaddi, Samadhi, Upekka. To what? Contact, feeling, craving, Upadana. Right? Upadana. Then, in this observation, founded as a core of life, through avidya, through ignorance, within being rooted in each and every breath and consciousness that arises, we form something that is rather against the insightful image that we create, enabling true vision of reality. We create a reality different to this, right? Which is the shallow world and life that we regard, right? I'm not calling life shallow. I'm calling the view of what we assume life to be. I'm calling that very shallow. Do you understand? Right? A shallow purview. This comes into everyone 3 categories within 1, 2, 3. I'm going to name this 1, 2, and 3. Right? These are connected. Okay? These are connected there. Okay? Clear? What are these 3? 1 becomes material, the 5 aggregates. 1 is a 5 aggregates. 2 is Chakku Sota Gana Jivha Kaya Mano. Right? The ayatanas. 3 are the 5 hindrances. 6 ayatanas, 5 hindrances. Is that clear? Right? Now, on the day of the retreat, we spoke about sense consciousness. Right? Sense consciousness. Because we are aware of consciousness through the attribute of it of cognizing elements of the sense basis. Correct? Right? Sense consciousness. Now, where is sense consciousness here? Sense consciousness is number 2, the middle one. The first is Rupa Vedana Sanya Sankhara Vinyana, the 5 aggregates. The 5 aggregates are beheld, if that's even a word, beheld, right? Beheld through the sense consciousnesses. So we do not see the 5 aggregates, we see the opulence or the weaknesses or the pleasure or the pain or the neutrality of whatever the sense consciousnesses are. Correct? Right? My life is parallel to the sense consciousnesses or the sense experiences I experience through this form. right? Through which number 3 arises. What is that? Tying all of these things together, the hindrances. The hindrances. Now, even if you're an arahant, what is going to happen? Chakku Sodha Gana Jiva Kaya Manu is going to arise. Number 2, the 6 ayatanas. However, this only leads to the hindrances when the ayatanas are cognized, or the what we experience through the 6 ayatanas are seen as self, which then leads to the hindrances to arise in direct connection to the sense experience that was now experienced by the consciousness. Is that clear? So number 3 arises when we perceive life through delusion, which is avijja and all of that, which is ingrained in our being, mind and body, right? But the moment that we come into a state of awakening, what happens? We do not regard the 5 aggregates through self. We do not regard the 6 ayatanas through self. When the 6 ayatanas are not regarded through self, there is no one to pleasure here. There is no one clinging on to the anger. There is no one clinging on to views. There is no one clinging on to the lust. One experience rising and falling, rising and falling. That rising and falling can be pleasurable, can be unpleasurable, can be neutral. That is fine. Do you understand? Does that make sense, everyone? Right? So when we are looking at the path, the sankharas that we create. Yes, Samantha.
Sorry, Bhante, to disturb you. So, would that be is the 6 ayatanas? Are they in the consciousness? After sankhara, you got consciousness, that one consciousness. So, would that consciousness be the 6 consciousnesses, and then the mind and matter, is that equal to the 5 aggregates?
Okay, so if you are looking at this now, why we've written 1, 2, 3 right in the middle is because now truly, Samantha, we do not look at life through sankhara pacha vinyana pacha nama rupa pacha salayatana contact feeling. We don't look at life in that manner, isn't it? Right? Far more gross creatures, right? We look at life in terms of what we are experiencing. Life is central to number 2 in the middle in blue.
Yeah.
Life is central to that, right? So we are not equating this to any one part of the Paticcasamuppada cycle, but what we are saying is the link, what makes the Paticcasamuppada cycle continuously go on. It is because right at this moment, what is it which is in my action, my outlook, my way of being, my worldview, my sense of self and ego and delusion, where I am proliferating my continued existence within samsara. To that, within the teachings, we find this. What is that? It is a fact that I regard a sense of self in the 5 aggregates and see it as my mind, my body, that I now see the sense experiences that I experience every moment as me, myself, and I. And in doing so, what happens? I create the foundation, the suitable environment to facilitate the growth of cancers such as the 5 hindrances. Do you understand? Right? Now, even when the annoying monk continuously reminds us to let go, let go, let go. Don't harbor anger, don't harbor ill will, don't harbor these things that are going to take you to hell. And you just shove that voice aside and say, what nonsense, this is the way life is. What is that? That is the self or the world view based upon self, upon the sense experience, which is a sense experience, and the story that we've given it becomes far more important to us through the hindrances. Because of the hindrances, the attachment is so much so to the shallow picture that I do not want to regard or know anything. Oh, I can't see it. It's not that I don't want to know. I can't see it. I can't see what this monkey is talking about. Why? Why can't you see it? You're too held up on the shallow attribute of the collective sense experience. Right? On the collective sense. That is all that we are saying with these graphs, Samantha. Is that clear?
Yeah. Thank you,
Right.
Bhante. So if you get rid of low dosa,
if we are going to just answer your question, if we are going to connect number 2, the 6 ayatanas, then it would belong in the salayatanas.
yes, that's right. Yeah,
right?
I see what.
In the 6 senses there. Right?
Would the Loba Moha dosa, would they come into it as well, the consciousness? Because we've got through the samsara, got greed, hatred, delusion embedded, mixed up in we've not purified our consciousness.
That depends on what is cognized, right? Our habitual tendencies, our situations of life, all because of what? Avidya here. Right?
Or sankhara, karma. Would it be karma?
Avidya and tanha creates a personality. What we do from there on, right, is a flow of our current situations. Avidya and tanha, because we are holding on to these things, right? Now, for example, why we are unable to see Nama Rupa differentiating between Nama and Rupa Salayatanas, even to bring our minds to observe the fact that the object and the perceivable of the object are two different things. Right? Even to bring ourselves into that level, Samantha, isn't a bit of training required. Why? The grasp of avidya.
Yes, yeah. So this is in the present moment, isn't it? So
Present
the
moment.
fact that I might have greed would be because of my past karma, would cause me to have greed and anger. But being in the present moment, I can change the course of that into a wholesome action.
You could.
Is that?
We are not changing the course of anything. We are creating stronger foundations of the present, where that present foundation that we are now creating is going to affect our future.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah. Thank you, Bhante. Yeah.
Because if we word it and say changing the course, that would mean that there is something as destiny here. There is nothing called destiny. There is only cause and effect.
That's it. Yeah, that's what I mean.
Creating some conditions that are now going to favorably support our pathway towards Nibbana.
Nibbana in a wholesome manner, and be able to let it go by, seeing the truth, the wisdom, maybe, non-delusional aspect.
Yes.
Something like that. Anyway, Bhante, I'll read through this again. Thank you, Bhante. Yeah.
Okay.
Bhante, can I just clear something? So when you look at your number 1, 2, and 3, right? We, because of ignorance and because of craving, we perceive these alyatanas, the number 2, as me and mine and myself. So because we are ignorant and because we crave, for us these 6 alyatanas, the number 2, it's their mind. It's my I, my thing, and they have created the media.
Dil, let me stop you there. Just go back to the note that we did earlier. The meditation note. Look at your meditation note, everyone. Right now, when you look at your meditation note, right? You will see.
Yeah.
You will see. Now, figure out where the aggregates are on that note. Right? On that note, where are the aggregates? Okay.
After the hindrances.
Right.
After the hindrance.
Sure.
Chittanupassana, hindrances and aggregates.
Right. So Chittanupassana, before the Chittanupassana, now what are we seeing? We are seeing the dead body, the coarseness of
Yes.
experiences.
Yes.
Vedananupassana,
Yes.
more subtle
The
than
pleasure.
Vipassana, but still the core sense of the sense
Yes.
experiences there.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Is that clear? Right?
Yes.
Then we go on to the Chittanupassana. Chittanupassana to the Nivaranas, the hindrances.
Yes.
Then the
Yes.
skandhas, then the ayatana.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Now look
Yes.
at right? Now this is the path of letting go, right? Excelling in the spiritual path towards nirvana. Right?
Yes.
We are
Yes.
we are observing in the Kayanupassana, we are observing a grosser part of the grosser part of the 5 aggregates. Vedananupassana, gross part of the 5 aggregates. Chittanupassana, gross part of the 5 aggregates. Right?
Yes.
Is that clear? In
Yes.
doing so, what do we realize? In doing so, what do we realize? This sense experience that I am going through, there is no sense of permanence there. There is no sense of self there. There is no sense of true control that I truly exercise there. This is not me, myself, and I. There is no sense of Atma in this. This is non-self. These are conditions, causes and effect, causes and effect, causes and effect. And I hold on to this in a manner where I think this is my life, this is what I'm going through, this is what I cannot let go of. But in actuality, what I am holding on to is something that has already, something that is fragile, fleeting in nature. Is that clear, everyone? Right? Through which, number 3, the 5 hindrances. The 5 hindrances loses its foundations to arise. The 5 hindrances loses its foundation to arise. And in now not being able to arise, what are we able to do? We are able to pursue the true sense of the connections between the 12 links of the Paticcasamuppada. To experience what? To experience what is suffering. What is, that is Dhammanupassana up there, everyone, after the Bojjhangas, right? What is suffering?
Yes.
Right? What is suffering? The cessation of suffering, the 4, right? The 4. That was achieved through what? The mind able to, now, 4 noble truths means, that's the direct, most closest path to enlightenment, right? What took me there? What took me there was the mind cleanse of the perception of me, myself, and I, or the delusionary way of thought or the worldview that there is me, myself, and I here, right? Embracing the Dhamma. Now, the 7 Bojjhangas apply to what? Phassa, Vedana, contact, feeling, craving, and clinging. Contact, feeling, craving, and clinging, through which, through the experiences of those links of the Paticcasamuppada, what were we able to see? We were able to apply the 7 Bojjhangas to those 4. Is that clear?
Yeah.
Now,
Phassa, Vedana, craving. To 5, Bhante. To Phassa, Vedana, contact, craving, and clinging.
no,
To
contact,
Phassa, Vedana.
craving, and clinging.
Yeah. Phassa, Vedana, contact, craving, and clinging.
Yeah,
5.
Phassa, Vedana.
Phassa,
Yeah.
Vedana, craving, and clinging.
Yeah.
5. Yeah. Okay, bye. Yeah. Yes.
Phassa, Vedana, craving.
Contact. No, contact. Phassa, Vedana, contact. Phassa is contact, isn't
Exactly.
it? Phassa, Vedana. Yeah. Sorry, Bhante. Phassa, Vedana. contact and clinging. Yeah. Pasa is contact. Yes. Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Right, everyone. I just have a minute. Because I have another meeting. So
Yes.
7 Bojjhangas go into contact, feeling, craving, and clinging, through which we apply the 7 Bojjhangas to. Now, right, because of realizing that, we do not cling further. Right? We do not cling further. That is how now what then happens is the present moment, no? Present moment, we find the 4 noble truths. What is the present moment? Sankhara, consciousness, mind and matter, and salayatana. Is that clear? Again, let me share the screen really quickly, right? Share.
Bante, whilst you're sharing, is the the Patana, the 4 Satara Satipatthana, is that based on the 5 aggregates by any chance? Like you got the Rupa, Kayana Pasana, Vedana is the Pasana is the Vedana and the Sanya, and the Chittana Pasana is the aggregate, and then Dhammanupassana is the Vijnana. Chittana Pasana, the Dhammanupassana. Not really, is it?
Oh, the 4 aggregates connected, not really, Samantha, no.
No, 5
I mean-
aggregates is not the Satipatthana.
No.
No. Okay.
No, Samantha.
Okay.
Right? Hari. Now, what I meant was, now, Sankhara, consciousness, mind and matter, right? Sankhara, consciousness, mind and matter, this is present. Right? This is present.
Yeah.
Because of the present,
Yes.
present effect is this. Clinging, craving, feeling, contact. That is present vipaka. Because of this present here, this arises. Remember that? Because of the second, this happens. The third. Right? This is basic. Right? This is present. The number 1 is present. Because of this number 1, because of Sankhara, consciousness, mind and matter, and 6 senses, what happens is number 2 arises. Because of number 2, the third happens. Right? So that is how, when we eradicate the sense of self in 1, right? Number 2, which causes number 3, does not happen. That is how we break it. Okay? All right, everyone. That is all the time that I have today. I've just got to rush for a meeting. But if you have any questions, keep it for next time. Okay? All right. Did you learn something new today? Did you learn something new today? Yeah? Okay.
Yes, Bante. Yes, yes, yes.
All right, everyone. Good night.
Thank
Thank you. Thank you, Bante.